All right, so in this video, we're going to look at finding all that key information about a quadratic function, but this one's going to be in standard form this time. All right, so everything is kind of expanded out. First off, if you want to, go ahead and graph this thing in your graphing calculator. All right, y equals, and then you'll just type in the function, and then hit graph. There we go. So this is going to be the picture that we can kind of expect to see out of this thing. Okay, I'll just sketch a quick little graph of it. Looks something like this. Okay, now I'm going to put this away because I want to find all this stuff out by hand. If you want to use the calculator, go right ahead. It's nice to have it. All right. So piece by piece, the first thing is whether it opens up or down, and we can tell from the graph that it opens up. Okay, and that's still the same reason. All right, the reason that happens is because A right here is positive. There's an implied 1 right here, and so because that's a positive number, this function is going to be opening up. Okay, we got that one. The second thing we'll find is the y-intercept right here. Okay, the y-intercept for something in standard form is very easy to find. It's going to be 10 on this function, and all you do to find the y-intercept is you'll just plug in 0 for these x's right here, and you'll see that it's just going to leave you with a 10. Right? So the y-intercept is always going to be that c term right there. That'll be your y-intercept. So this one crosses at 10. The x-intercept. Okay, so this isn't going to be as easy as it was in factored form. But the main ways that you'll find the x-intercept is either by factoring or by using the quadratic formula. Okay, so I'm going to plug in 0 for y because that's how you find the x-intercepts. Okay, and I'm searching for these two spots here. If we tried to factor this one, it would not work out because there's no factors of 10, right? Two numbers that multiply to 10 that add up to 8. All right, so this one will not factor. So we would actually have to use the quadratic formula in order to solve it. Okay, or you can kind of look at your calculator if you want to get close to what those values are. You could use the trace feature again. And if you have that quadratic formula, if you happen to have it as a program on your calculator, you could go ahead and use that here. I'm just going to do it by hand since I don't have that. All right. So it starts off with negative b. So that's going to be negative 8 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 8 squared, minus 4ac. Okay, 4 times 1 times 10. All over 2 times 1. And then we're going to simplify this a little bit. It's going to be a positive 8 because of the double negatives. And then all this stuff under the square root, negative 8 squared, that is 64, and then we're minusing a 4 times 1 times 10, so we're minusing a 40. Okay, so that's going to give us 24 there, all divided by 2. For what our purposes are, I'm just going to figure out what these answers are as a decimal. Okay, so I would take this expression right here and throw it into my calculator, doing the positive version and the negative version. Okay, let me figure. Oh, actually, I think I closed that out. Well, I'll do it on my calculator at home, I guess. 8 plus root 24, all divided by 2. The positive version is going to give me 6.45 And if I do the minus version, divided by 2, I'm going to get 1.55. There we go. So there's your 6.45 right here. And then the little one over on the left is your 1.55. Okay. Get that. To find that vertex, okay, find the vertex of something that's in standard form is not as simple as as vertex form. There's two main ways that you can find it, though. The way I'm going to do it first here is by completing the square. So I've got y equals x squared minus 8x. And what I'm going to do is move that 10 over a little bit to give some space. Okay, we did this earlier in the year. To complete the square, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of my b term, which is -4, and then you square that to get 16. Now, if I'm adding 16 right here, I'm going to have to subtract 16 right after to keep it all balanced. And then what would I do? All right, these three guys right here, I'm going to factor them. It would be x minus 4, all right, and in factored form. And that's going to be x minus 4 all squared. And then these two, 10 minus 16 is going to be -6. So the reason I did that was so that now it's in vertex form and I can read what the vertex is. The vertex is just going to be +4, the opposite of the number in the parentheses there, and -6. And that is the coordinates of that point right there. Okay, it's 4 on the x-axis and -6 on the y-axis. So that's my vertex. That is the first way that you could go about finding the vertex. The other one involves using a little formula. Okay, to find the x part of the vertex, what we're going to do is we're going to do -b over 2a. Okay, you recognize that it's actually just part of this quadratic formula up here. I'm ignoring this plus or minus square root part. Okay, what that formula does is it gives you these two x-intercepts. But if you don't do the plus or minus part, what you end up getting is this vertex. Right? It gives you the average of those two x-intercepts. So I'm just going to do -b over 2a. And that's going to give me -8, that's -b, over 2 times 1, 2a. If I simplify this, it's going to be 8 over 2, which is 4. Okay, so this is the x part of my vertex. And if you have the x part and you want to find the y part, what you do is you're going to take that 4 and plug it back into the function. Okay, so it would be y equals x squared, all right, 4 squared, minus 8 times 4 plus 10. That's going to be 16 minus 32 plus 10. And if you work all that out, you're going to see that it gives you -6. That's the more traditional way to find the vertex by hand. Okay, so my vertex is 4, -6. Okay. Number 5. All right, the last thing we want to do is usually find the range of it. We've done this several times already. So the range is just how low it goes, which is -6. And then since it's opening up, it's going to be to positive infinity. Okay, so my range is -6 to positive infinity. Or you could say y is greater than or equal to -6. Okay, that's all the y values represented by this graph, by this function.